What is up, guys? How are you all doing? I'm doing great, thanks for asking. And what do we have here with a quick little video where I want to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that is Battlefield 4 Dragon's Teeth. Yes sir, the DLC came out a few days ago and I have been playing it a ton. I've literally put in about 20, maybe 24 hours into the actual DLC footage that you're seeing in front of you, and I've played just that DLC, nothing else, just those DLC maps for at least a day's worth of gameplay. But firstly, this is just kind of like a general DLC review type thing, where I talk about just my thoughts and feelings of the game and talk about the DLC overall and how it is and how it places itself into Battlefield 4. And I must say that this DLC is probably one of the best, if not the best DLC that has come out for Battlefield 4 in my personal opinion. I would put it this way: this DLC, Dragon's Teeth, is probably the best DLC to hit Battlefield since Battlefield 3's Close Quarters DLC. Now, the Close Quarters DLC was brilliant for Battlefield 3 and I loved it, and ever since then we haven't had as good as a DLC until today. Well, until 3 days ago, but whatever. Dragon's Teeth is probably the only time I would suggest people buy DLC. I mean, I'm against DLC completely. You guys know this, you know my theories and thoughts and my opinions on the matter. I think DLC should go back to what it was originally, where developers would patch the game, and with that patch they'll give us free stuff just to say thank you for playing the game, for buying the game, for supporting their product and their company. But it's not like that anymore. They try to rinse every single penny out of your pockets, and I suppose that's how the world works now. Even though I believe in that strongly, I think this is the only time I would make an exception. This is probably the only DLC I would suggest you get because everything is great. I mean, you guys know of the Naval Strike DLC. The maps were okay. However, the guns and the general feel of the game and the game modes didn't work on the maps properly, and the spawns were broken and the guns weren't too exciting and things like that. So it wasn't like an overall package. But with Dragon's Teeth DLC, it's completely the opposite. Every single thing they've put into the game in terms of DLC content is absolutely brilliant. I would highly recommend you try it if you're thinking about getting it. I'll put a promotion link in the description where you can get the Dragon's Teeth DLC for a cheaper price, at a discounted price. So check that out if you want to buy it. But this is probably the only time I'd say this, because like I said, the other DLCs, even because I'm a premium member, I've played all of them. The other DLCs are just so-so, maybe 50-50, a hit and miss, kind of like an average DLC. But this is the one that stands out for me. DICE have done an excellent job, I'm not gonna lie, because we give DICE and EA and guys like that who work on various games a lot of shit, but obviously you have to give them credit where credit is due. And right now it is definitely due because it's fun, and that's the one thing that's reminded me of this DLC. It kind of took me back to the Bad Company 2 days where I played Battlefield and it was fun. It was nothing else. It wasn't competitive. There wasn't many tryhards. Even if there was bullshit in the game, you can overlook it because you're having so much fun. Even if you're playing solo and not in a squad or friends or whatever. And that's what this DLC brought to the table. I mean, apart from that, all the maps are absolutely amazing. I think my favorite map has to be Propaganda. It literally works with every single goddamn game mode. I'm yet to come across a map in the Battlefield franchise or series where every single game mode works brilliantly on one map. And you know, you don't come across things like that very often, and it's very, very rare to see. However, Propaganda is probably the first and only map where every single game mode is brilliant. You can play it for hours and hours and have so much fun, and it's amazing. Sunken Dragon, Pearl Market, and Lumpini Garden, all of them are great. Every single one has its own unique feel and all kind of works well with every single game mode for the most part, and they really fit in well with the whole Battlefield franchise, and especially Battlefield 4. Now, each map has its own unique feel. Like Pearl Market is kind of like a clusterfuck of just rooftops and alleyways, and I love that. A lot of people disliked it because there were so many corners and so many routes and things like that, but I personally love that because I prefer chaos. I prefer mayhem. That's why I play on 64-man servers on Metro or Operation Locker. That's pure mayhem, and you get that exact same feel here. However, it's not kind of linear like those maps. It's not like 3 direct routes or 1 or 2 direct routes and kind of very standardized maps. You have rooftops, you have multiple alleyways, you can have at least a dozen flanking routes and things like that, and I absolutely adore it because it works very well with my love for the game and my playstyle and whatnot. And Lumpini Garden, again, that is also a brilliant map. I love that. I love the way it plays and the way it feels, and it's got this kind of openness to it, and you can just kind of see from one end of the map to the other, and it's brilliant. It's again very visually stunning, and it works well. Sunken Dragon probably is my least favorite. However, in saying that, just because it's the bottom one out of the 4 doesn't mean it's a bad map. It is still a brilliant map. Again, it's an exceptional DLC package. However, if I had to categorize them, this would be at the very bottom because I just don't like the whole map. I mean, there is a certain point, especially in the middle, where the water can kind of rise up and kind of flood the boats and whatnot. That area is brilliant, but beyond that, it's kind of just okay. It's so-so. Therefore, it's not my favorite map, but it is still good. It is still very good. And next, of course, is the weapons. Now, I love every single weapon. With every DLC, there's 1, maybe 2 good guns, and that's it. Never all of them. But with this DLC, every single gun is brilliant, and they each have a place in the game. The Unica 6 and Deagle, the Desert Eagle, for example, just those 2 handguns, or, well, hand cannons, to be honest. Just those 2 weapons in general did it for me. Those were probably the icing on the cake, because they are that good. They are so fun to use, and you need to try to master the weapon. It takes a lot lot of skill to use, and it just feels so good when you get a kill with those. And I jumped in some pistol only servers. I might put some footage of that as well in the background, and it was so much fun. I had such an incredible time with those weapons, and like I said, I can never really say that about the DLC weapons for the most part. Next, we had the game mode. Of course, they put in a new game mode called Chain Link. Now, this by far has to be one of my favorite, if not absolute favorite, game mode of all time. The problem is the spawns. The spawns are completely broken. I mean, I find myself spawning next to, in front of, and behind enemies. That shouldn't happen. I mean, this isn't Call of Duty. Why is that happening? So I would like to see that fixed very, very soon. Hopefully they can patch that and maybe implement the new CTE stuff into the patch as well, so that you get the HUD improvements and whatnot. That would be nice to see. Hopefully they can do that very soon. However, at the current state of the game, Chain Link is the best game mode ever. It is brilliant. It feels so good, and it's a very nice change of pace, and it kind of changes up the game and makes it fun again, so it's not as boring as it once was. However, like I said, the spawns are absolutely broken, so that needs to be fixed. Another negative thing that I have to associate with Chain Link game mode is the people. So this isn't the developers' fault, this is the community itself. These guys, the average Battlefield gamer, is so stupid that they don't understand the concept of Chain Link. I mean, we had this conversation with a few random people on the server the other day, which was great fun. We all said and agreed that this game mode is just too complicated for the average guy, or for the average player on Battlefield, because they just can't understand what you need to do. They are running around and trying to get the flag from the other side of the map. They're trying to get kills, thinking that kills are going to affect it in some way, which it does in a way, I suppose, but that's not the idea of the game. It's not a team deathmatch, you see. It's Chain Link. It's not just chain, it's linked. So I don't understand why people don't get the fact that you have to link points together. It's not just about capturing a flag like domination. You have to link it together from one flag to the next. You can't have a space in between. That's why it's called Chain Link. But like I said, these people are just so fucking retarded that they don't understand the concept, and because of that, I find myself being frustrated more on this game mode, even though I'm having more fun as well, which is kind of like a weird paradox within itself, because it's an incredibly fun game mode, but only if your teammates know what they're doing. If your teammates are clueless and oblivious to what's going on, you will rage your head off, because you're doing everything right, but everybody else around you is kind of fucking up and running around doing something that they shouldn't, or not playing the objective properly. So my recommendation is either find a good bunch of people to squad up with, or run into a server full of teammates and randoms that actually know what they're doing, because if you don't have those two things in place, it's gonna be a very bad thing for you. But overall, this DLC is amazing. I would highly recommend you get it. If you made a mistake of buying Battlefield 4, like most of us did, and you haven't made a mistake of buying Premium like I did, then I think you should still buy this DLC, because if you're somebody who's given up on Battlefield, I believe that this DLC will kind of revitalize and rejuvenate your love for the game, and it will kind of bring you back a little bit. Of course, there's still bullshit. I'm getting shot around corners, I'm not getting hit markers, I'm getting too many hit markers, and BS like that still exists, especially with a netcode. However, this DLC for the most part works very well, and it was very fun. And I don't say that about most DLCs because I'm kind of anti-DLC. So for the fact that I'm actually saying this and giving it props should indicate to you how good of a quality this is. So definitely check it out if you want to. I'll put a link in the description. Like I said, you can go buy the DLC for a cheaper price and kind of get into it that way. But anyways guys, that's pretty much what I think about the DLC and kind of Battlefield 4 in general. Let me know what you think. Do you like the DLC? Do you dislike the DLC? Do you agree with the things I said? Do you disagree? Which is your favorite weapon and map? And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Sniper474, and I'm out. I'll see you on the battlefield.
In your defense, you never had a chance, and so tell me straight, I won't go. This is our time now, I'm sure. Make no mistake that we are closer than we're far.